Stop everything you're doing right now. Seriously, put down your phone. If you just dropped $500 on a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, you might want to close this video because what I'm about to reveal is going to make you question that purchase. For years, you've probably looked at the Apple TV as nothing more than that small black box sitting under your television, quietly streaming Netflix and Disney Plus while your gaming console does all the heavy lifting. Well, everything you thought you knew about Apple's streaming device is about to get flipped upside down. We've just uncovered verified leaks about the 2025 Apple TV, and this isn't just another incremental update with a slightly faster processor and a new remote. This is Apple's declaration of war on the entire living room ecosystem. They're coming for Sony. They're coming for Microsoft. And they're doing it with a device most people have completely underestimated. Apple has been suspiciously quiet in the gaming space for years. While Sony and Microsoft battled it out with massive consoles that sound like jet engines and cost as much as a decent laptop, Apple sat back and watched. They let everyone think they were content with casual mobile games and simple streaming apps. But that silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. Behind closed doors, Apple has been working on something they're internally calling Project Hydra. And the name is perfect because this device isn't trying to do just one thing. It's coming for your gaming console, your smart home hub, your streaming box, and even your voice assistant. This is a multi-headed attack on every device in your entertainment center. And based on what we've discovered, it might actually succeed. In this video, I'm breaking down 3 massive leaks that completely change the conversation about what an Apple TV can be. We're talking about processing power that rivals dedicated gaming hardware, an interface that feels like it's reading your mind, and artificial intelligence integration that turns your television into the central nervous system of your entire home. This isn't speculation or wishful thinking. These details are coming from developer kits, supply chain sources, and people who have actually touched the hardware. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why tech insiders are calling this the biggest disruption in home entertainment since streaming killed cable. So get comfortable, grab a drink, and let's talk about why your next gaming device might have an Apple logo on it. Let's start with the hardware, because this is where Apple is making the most aggressive move. For context, the current Apple TV runs on variations of the A-series chips, the same processors you find in iPhones and iPads. These chips are impressive for mobile devices. They handle streaming beautifully, run simple games without breaking a sweat, and sip power like they're designed for a device that needs to last all day on a battery. But here's the thing, they're mobile chips. They're built with thermal constraints in mind because your phone can't have a cooling fan. They're designed to throttle performance when things get too hot because burning your hand while scrolling Instagram would be a terrible user experience. That design philosophy makes perfect sense for a phone, but it's completely unnecessary for a device that sits on your entertainment center and plugs directly into wall power. The 2025 Apple TV throws that entire approach out the window. According to multiple sources who have seen the internal specifications, Apple is abandoning iPhone chips entirely for this device. Instead, they're building the new Apple TV around what developers are calling the M2 Nano. Now, before your eyes glaze over at another chip name, let me explain why this matters so much. The M2 chip currently powers MacBook Air and MacBook Pro laptops. It's the same silicon that handles professional video editing, music production, and software development. It's a desktop-class processor that embarrassed Intel and made PC manufacturers scramble to catch up. The M2 Nano isn't just a rebranded M2, though. It's a custom version specifically optimized for a television environment. Apple has stripped out components that don't matter for a living room device and doubled down on graphics processing and neural engine performance. Here's where it gets interesting. The biggest limitation of mobile chips is heat. When your phone gets hot PLA, in a graphically intensive game, the processor deliberately slows itself down to prevent damage. This thermal throttling is why your phone feels blazingly fast for the first 10 minutes of gameplay and then starts to stutter. A plugged-in device doesn't have that problem. The 2025 Apple TV reportedly includes dedicated active cooling, which in plain English means a fan system designed to keep the chip running at maximum performance indefinitely. This isn't the loud, obnoxious cooling you get from a PlayStation 5 that sounds like it's preparing for takeoff. Apple's thermal engineering is famously quiet. But the presence of active cooling means one critical thing. The M2 Nano can run unrestricted. There's no throttling. There's no performance degradation. This chip can maintain peak power for hours without breaking a sweat. The real-world result is graphics processing capability that competes with dedicated gaming consoles that cost 2 or 3 times as much. We're not talking about mobile games anymore. The leaks specifically mention native AAA gaming support, and I need you to understand what that means. When developers talk about AAA games, they're referring to massive budget titles from major studios. We're talking about games like Cyberpunk 2077, the dystopian RPG that brought high-end gaming PCs to their knees when it launched. We're talking about Forza Motorsport, the racing simulator that models every scratch on the paint and every reflection in the rearview mirror. These aren't streaming from a server farm somewhere. They're running locally on the device itself. The M2 Nano has Apple's unified memory architecture, which allows the processor and graphics system to share the same pool of high-speed RAM. This eliminates bottlenecks that plague traditional computer architectures and allows the system to render complex, photorealistic environments at targeted 4K resolution and 60 frames per second. To put that in perspective, 60 frames per second is the standard for smooth, responsive gameplay. It's what PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X target for their premium titles. Apple is aiming for that same performance benchmark in a device small enough to fit in your palm and quiet enough that you'll forget it's even running. But the most compelling evidence isn't in specification sheets. It's in what developers are saying. Multiple reports indicate that Apple has been distributing new tvOS development kits to major game studios over the past several months. These kits include advanced graphics APIs, which are essentially tool sets that allow developers to tap into the full power of the hardware. The APIs are reportedly far more sophisticated than anything Apple has released for tvOS before. They include support for advanced rendering techniques, real-time ray tracing for realistic lighting, and high-efficiency texture compression that allows massive game worlds to fit into reasonable storage sizes. This isn't speculation. When Apple distributes development hardware to major studios, it means they're serious about software support. They're not just building powerful hardware and hoping games magically appear. They're actively courting publishers, providing technical support, and reportedly offering financial incentives to bring flagship titles to the platform. This is the same strategy Microsoft used when launching Xbox, and it's the same approach Sony took with PlayStation. Apple is rolling out the red carpet for game developers and saying, bring your biggest, most demanding titles here. We can handle them. The era of the Apple gaming console isn't coming eventually. Based on the development timeline, it's already in motion behind the scenes. Now, here's the reality check. Powerful hardware means absolutely nothing if the software experience is boring or frustrating. And let's be honest about the current Apple TV interface. It works fine. It's clean and minimalist, very Apple. But it's essentially just a grid of app icons. You scroll through rows of squares until you find Netflix or YouTube or whatever streaming service you want. It's functional, but it's not exciting. It doesn't take advantage of having a massive television screen and powerful processing. That changes completely with tvOS 19. The second major leak revolves entirely around user experience. And this is where Apple does what Apple does best. Make technology feel effortless and almost magical. The headline feature is something Apple is calling TrueMul. TivView. And before you roll your eyes because you've seen picture-in-picture before, hear me out. This isn't two video windows stacked on top of each other. This is simultaneous, fluid multitasking that treats your television like a command center. Imagine you're watching the final 2 minutes of an NBA playoff game. The action is tense, every possession matters, and you're locked in. But you also have money riding on your fantasy basketball team, and you need to know if your players are performing. With True Multi-View, the main game plays at full resolution on the majority of your screen. On the right side, a live panel displays your fantasy stats updating in real time as points are scored. In the bottom corner, there's a FaceTime window showing your friends watching the same game, their reactions syncing with the action. All three streams are running simultaneously with zero lag, zero stuttering, and zero compromise in quality. This fundamentally changes how you interact with television. Instead of lean-back, passive experience where you zone out and watch whatever's on, your TV becomes an active hub. You're watching content, tracking data, and socializing simultaneously. It's the same psychological shift that made smartphones addictive. You're not just consuming media anymore. You're engaged with multiple streams of information at once, and your brain loves that stimulation. But Apple isn't stopping at multi-view. They're tackling one of the most annoying aspects of shared television experiences: user profiles. Right now, switching profiles on any streaming device is tedious. You have to navigate to settings, select a profile drop-down, click your name, wait for the interface to reload, and then finally start watching. It breaks immersion and wastes time. The 2025 Apple TV reportedly solves this with a feature called spatial user profiles, and it's the kind of seamless magic that Apple has built its reputation on. The device uses hardware-based proximity sensing, likely leveraging ultra-wideband technology that's already built into Apple Watch and recent iPhones. Here's how it works in practice. You walk into your living room after a long day and sit down on the couch. You haven't touched the remote yet. You haven't pressed any buttons. But the moment you sit down, the Apple TV detects your specific Apple Watch or iPhone. Within a second, the interface switches to your personal profile. Your up next queue loads. Your game saves appear. Your controller button preferences are applied. Even your preferred audio settings kick in. If your partner walks in and sits next to you, the device might automatically switch to a shared family profile, blending both of your preferences. This feels like science fiction, but the technology already exists. Ultra-wideband allows devices to detect precise positioning within a room. Your Apple Watch already knows when you're near your Mac and automatically unlocks it. The Apple TV is just extending that same spatial awareness to create a personalized viewing experience. Once you experience a device that knows who's in the room and adapts instantly without any input, going back to manual profile switching feels archaic. This is how Apple locks people into their ecosystem. They don't do it with contracts or exclusive content. They do it by making the experience so seamless that using anything else feels like a downgrade. But the most ambitious leak, the one that transforms the Apple TV from an entertainment device into the central brain of your entire home, revolves around Apple Intelligence. Artificial intelligence has been the tech industry's obsession for the past 2 years, but most implementations feel gimmicky or half-baked. Apple is reportedly taking a different approach with the 2025 Apple TV, positioning it as the primary anchor point for AI in your home. According to leaked hardware specifications, the new device includes far-field microphones, the same kind found in HomePod speakers. These microphones are designed to pick up voice command from across the room, even when music or dialogue is playing from the television. This enables a permanent listening mode. You don't need to hold the remote. You don't need to press a button first. The device is always ready to respond. Imagine you're in the kitchen cooking dinner, and you want to set the mood in the living room. You can shout from 20 feet away, "Hey Siri, dim the living room lights to 50% and play my dinner pa." The Apple TV processes the command instantly, adjusts your smart lights, and starts playing music through your connected speakers. It acts as the central hub for your entire HomeKit ecosystem, controlling your thermostat, locks, cameras, lights, and any other connected devices. But here's the crucial difference from cloud-based voice assistants. The M2 Nano chip is powerful enough to process most commands locally on the device itself. Your voice isn't being sent to a remote server for processing. It happens right there in your living room, which means faster response times and better privacy, since your voice data isn't leaving your home. The AI goes deeper than just smart home control, though. The really interesting part is how the system learns from your behavior. The leaked information suggests the Apple TV will analyze how you watch content. It notices when you pause during intense action scenes. It sees when you fast forward through slow dialogue. It tracks which genres you watch on Friday nights versus Sunday mornings. Over time, it builds a detailed understanding of your preferences that goes far beyond simple genre tags. This allows you to ask complex, natural language questions. You can say, Siri, find me a science fiction movie similar to Blade Runner, but with a female lead and a plot twist at the end. Instead of just returning search results for Blade Runner, the AI understands context, identifies thematic elements, cross-references with other films, and delivers genuinely relevant recommendations. It stops the endless scrolling through streaming services. It solves the eternal, what should we watch tonight argument that wastes 30 minutes of your evening. By combining desktop-class computing power, console-level gaming capability, and always-on voice intelligence, Apple is attempting something bold. They want to replace 3 or 4 separate devices with one unified hub. Your gaming console, your smart speaker, your streaming box, and your home automation controller all collapse into a single small device that sits quietly beneath your television. This is what Apple calls the one cable advantage. You plug in one HDMI cable and one power cable, and suddenly that device controls your entire living room ecosystem. So when can you actually buy this thing? The timeline is pointing toward late 2025, specifically the fourth quarter. This timing makes perfect strategic sense. Apple needs several more months to finalize tvOS 19 and ensure all the new features work reliably at launch. More importantly, they need time for game developers to finish porting their AAA titles. Launching a gaming-capable device without games would be disastrous. Apple wants a strong library of recognizable titles ready on day one. Targeting a fourth-quarter release also positions the device perfectly for holiday shopping season, when consumer electronics sales spike and people are more willing to make impulse purchases. Now let's talk about money, because this is where the leaks get really interesting. You're probably assuming a device this powerful will be expensive. A mini gaming PC with Mac-level performance has to cost $500 or more, right? According to multiple sources, Apple is planning a pricing strategy that will shock the competition. The company is expected to introduce a tiered model system. The base model will feature the M2 Nano chip, standard storage, and all the core functionality. Leaked pricing suggests it will land between $149 and $179. Think about that for a second. That's cheaper than an Xbox Series S. It's less than most people spend on dinner and drinks for two. For that price, you get a premium 4K streaming device, a smart home hub, and a gaming system capable of running modern AAA titles. That's not a luxury purchase. That's an impulse buy for millions of households. Then there's the Pro model aimed at enthusiasts who want the absolute best experience. This version will likely cost between $249 and $299. For the extra money, you get significantly more storage for game downloads, potentially upgraded audio hardware for immersive sound, and possibly even a front-facing camera for motion tracking and video calls. Even at $300, it's still half the price of a PlayStation 5 Digital Edition. This pricing isn't accidental. This is Apple using its supply chain dominance and massy VE scale to undercut the competition. They're not trying to make huge profit margins on the hardware itself. The goal is to get the device into as many homes as possible, because that's when the real revenue starts. Once you own an Apple TV, you're far more likely to subscribe to Apple Arcade for gaming, Apple TV Plus for original content, Apple Fitness Plus for workouts, and iCloud for storage. The box is the gateway. The services are the payoff. Now let me give you my honest opinion on what this all means. I spend my days analyzing tech specifications and trying to separate marketing hype from genuine innovation. Usually, leaked information amounts to minor improvements. A slightly faster chip here, a new port there. Nothing that fundamentally changes how people use a device. This feels genuinely different. This feels like a moment where Apple is making a real play for a market they've largely ignored. If you're a hardcore gaming enthusiast who needs to play competitive first-person shooters at 120 frames per second with a mouse and keyboard, this probably won't replace your custom-built gaming PC. Apple isn't trying to win over that audience. But for the vast majority of people, this could be a complete game changer. The genius of this strategy isn't raw power. though the power is impressive. The genius is removing friction. Gaming consoles are fantastic, but they exist in their own separate ecosystems. You have to turn them on and wait for them to boot. You have to download system updates that take forever. You have to purchase games separately, either physical discs or digital downloads that don't connect to your other content. The Apple TV is already on, or at least it turns on the instant you pick up your television remote. It's already connected to your Apple ID and payment method. It's already integrated with your photos, your music, your fitness data, and your home automation. If Apple can genuinely deliver games like Cyberpunk 2077 or FIFA on this device with the same one-click simplicity as downloading an iPhone app, they win. They win because convenience beats specifications for most consumers. They're eliminating the barrier between watching a show and playing a game. Everything lives in one interface. Everything is one click away. So should you rush out and buy an Apple TV right now? If you just need a reliable streaming box and you don't care about gaming or advanced smart home features, the current 4th-generation Apple TV 4K is still excellent. It's fast, it handles every streaming service beautifully, and it's not going anywhere. But if you care about gaming, if you're intrigued by the idea of your television becoming the command center for your entire home, or if you just love being an early adopter of genuinely innovative technology, then you need to wait. Keep your money in your pocket for a few more months. The 2025 model represents a massive generational leap. This isn't an iterative update. This is Apple redefining what a streaming box can be. The era of single-purpose entertainment devices is dying. The age of the home brain is beginning, and it's going to be fascinating to watch this unfold. If you're as excited as I am about the future of Apple's living room strategy and what this means for gaming and smart homes, do me a huge favor and smash that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel grow and lets me know you want more in-depth coverage of these leaks. Hit the subscribe button because we'll be following this story closely as more details emerge, and we'll have a full breakdown of the confirmed launch game lineup as soon as that information goes public. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss that video, because if Apple really does secure major AAA titles, that list is going to blow people's minds. Share this video with your gaming friends, your tech-savvy family members, or anyone who's been thinking about upgrading their entertainment setup. And drop a comment below telling me what you think. Would you seriously consider selling your PlayStation or Xbox if the Apple TV could play the same games? I read every comment, and I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. I'll catch you in the next one.